bum 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 bum. You feel it bum, you feel it bum, you feel it bum 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 bum. This is shown by the stars above. What goes up must come down. Here's a man that is born of a woman, has about a short time to live. Ooh, all agreeable, needed barely now, yeah. That's the sailor man sound. All agreeable, needed barely now, yeah. It's the sailor man sound. Cool winds are blowing, I see now the break of dawn. Gone out of lightning and thunder, it was the darkest night. Gone out of lightning and thunder, it was the darkest night. Hear it boom, hear it boom, hear it boom, 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 boom. Ooh, you feel it boom, feel it boom, yeah, feel it boom, 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 boom. Just as sure as the stars above, what goes up must come down. Here's a man that is born of a woman, has about a short time to live. Good God. Oh, yeah, yeah, that's a sailor man sound. Yes, yeah, 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 yeah. This is sailor man sound. You hear it bum, you hear it bum, you hear it bum, 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 bum. You feel it bum. Oh, yeah, the sailor man sound. This is sailor man sound. Oh, this is sailor man sound. This is sailor man sound. Raleigh did it this way. This the sailor man sound. Good Lord, this the sailor man sound. Oh, Raleigh did it this way.
Tonight, allegations of political victimization at a government agency. Also, PPL looking to shore up its power supply. And later, the education minister addressing union concerns ahead of the opening of the new school year. Eyewitness News starts now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Janaea Noel. Thanks so much for joining us. Topping news tonight, the controversial exit of a young professional from a government agency, fueling growing debate tonight over whether politics still plays a role in the public service and employment as opposition leaders continue their call for her to be reinstated. Our Jose Etienne has the details tonight.
Justice for Ernie! Justice for Bahamians! Justice for Ernie! Justice for Bahamians!
FNM supporters erupting in protests as they condemn the controversial circumstances that led to Ernie Johnson's resignation as Human Resources Director at the Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority.
She was offered a job by the executive chairman and then subsequently forced and intimidated to resign from Bahamas Parks and Beaches Authority on day 2.
The reason behind Johnson's resignation, party supporters say it has all to do with political victimization. However, Executive Chairman Jamal Strawn appeared blindsided by those claims.
Mr. Strawn, could you speak to that, the bullying that allegedly happened?
I don't know bullying.
Yeah, so
Bullying?
Yeah.
No, I don't know of any bullying.
That's constructive dismissal, Chairman. Constructive dismissal.
That's where he and the opposition leader lock horns despite an apparent productive meeting held between the two.
It's clear he should be aware. All of us are aware of the bullying that occurred. All of us are aware.
About that meeting held around 3 p.m. today.
I believe some progress has been made in terms of making sure she will not be unemployed under this administration where she duly and rightfully obtained a job fair and square.
Still, Erinique's fate with the authority remains in limbo despite her rescinding her resignation. And human resources experts say it's usually up to the employer to decide whether someone's able to reverse a decision to walk away from the job.
Well, with the resignation letter in hand, we're just looking at it for right now, and we have further dialogue.
While the allegations remain unproven, they have thrust concerns about political victimization and its potential impact on qualified citizens and their careers in public service into the spotlight. It also reignites concerns about whether employees end up serving as opposing operatives in government agencies. Nonetheless, many agree that there is no place for political victimization in our country. Jose Etienne, Eyewitness News.
Meantime, the public is also weighing in on whether political affiliation should play a role in government employment. Our Rebecca Bain has the details in this report.
While some have taken to social media arguing that political affiliation should determine who gets a government job, on the street of the capital, many Bahamians say that should never happen.
I certainly feel that that's discriminatory in every aspect of the word. Everyone should have a right to their opinion politically and personally.
At the end of the day, after politics, it is one Bahamas.
The debate comes after Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard alleged that a member of the party's youth arm was forced to resign from a government agency position because of political pressure. Pintard said the woman later immediately withdrew her resignation, but claimed the agency refused to accept it. For many of the residents we spoke with, they say discriminating against someone because of their political beliefs is a practice that should have been left in the past.
The reality of it is, the politicians live in the dinosaur age.
I feel it needs to be washed and wiped out of the system. And whoever is culturally being a part of it, they should be looked at, and then the government should deal with them. We're supposed to be getting better and more educated.
Others worry the controversy could send the wrong message, encouraging qualified people from seeking government employment out of fear their political affiliation could cost them a job.
The reality of it is that if my party is not in power, there's no way I could come home and add value to my country, because if I come, the chances are whenever the party's voted out, you would find that I could be gone with the party.
Some say stronger legal protections are needed to ensure employment decisions are based on qualifications rather than politics.
Pass laws, just like how we fighting for the disabled to have rights, fight for Bahamians to have rights. We are very passive, and we need to learn to be more aggressive.
Stronger policy and procedure, just like it is for any private business. So if it's not allowed in private businesses, it shouldn't be allowed in the government.
But not everyone agrees. This resident says while fairness is important, additional protections could create their own challenges.
These people have the power to move certain people off the bench. They could dictate to these people and get the results that they want in most of these cases. And if the politicians get involved, then you take it to the international stage to let the world see what it is that they're doing to their own people.
While opinions remain divided, there was one point many agreed on. Government jobs should be awarded fairly, transparently, and on merit, not political loyalty. Rebecca Bain, Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Rebecca. We also took to social media. 89% of participants voted yes. All claims of victimization should be fully examined. 5% voted only if there is evidence to support those allegations. Some 5% voted no. Officials should be allowed to make personal decisions. 1% voted that they were not sure. The question, do you think allegations of political victimization involving public officials should be investigated? The answer's there on your screen. In other news tonight, 5 viral voice recordings that triggered a police corruption investigation 2 years ago will be heard by a jury when the high-profile $1.4 million theft case goes to trial. This November, Supreme Court Justice Neil Fitzpatrick rejected an application by attorney Bajon Ferguson to halt that prosecution, ruling that the recordings are admissible evidence and that questions about their authenticity should be determined by a jury. The recordings are also central to the case, which alleges a financial quid pro quo arrangement involving former Chief Superintendent of Police Michael Johnson, Ferguson, and others, following the alleged theft of $1.4 million. Ferguson had argued that the recordings were not properly authenticated, could have been altered or fabricated, and that without them there was no admissible evidence linking him to those allegations. But Justice Fitzpatrick found the recordings do carry significant value and said any dispute over their reliability should be decided at trial. Prosecutors also relied on a police interview in which Johnson allegedly acknowledged participating in one of the recorded conversations and identified former Police Reserve Officer Ricardo Fox as the other voice. Well, 247 missed police check-ins. That's what landed a 26-year-old Eleuthera man behind bars for a year after he admitted to repeatedly breaching his bail conditions. Carlos Wilson of Gregorytown pleaded guilty to failing to report to police while on bail for housebreaking, stealing, and receiving. The missed check-ins spanned an 18-month period from January of 2025 through July of this year. Wilson also admitted that he failed to keep his court-ordered electronic ankle monitor charged for 92 days between May and July. It raises questions about accountability of the system. Well, after weeks of rolling blackouts across the islands, Bahamas Power and Light is now turning to Egypt for a piece of equipment that it hopes will strengthen the country's power grid. Our Laurencia Smith has the details on this.
More than $1 million, 637 miles away. And despite a bid to shore up a power grid that continues to test the patience of Bahamians, help is on the way for the Bahamas Power and Light as the utilities turn to Egypt for a critical piece of infrastructure aimed at strengthening the country's electricity network. What does the more than $1 million price tag cover for the 70-ton power transformer manufactured by El Sweetie Electric?
Required not only the purchase of the equipment, but also the logistics and other components were involved in order to get it here.
In a video featured by CNN, Bahamas Power and Light Chief Operating Officer Anthony Christie says the project represents a major milestone for the country's sole electric provider as the country works to improve the stability and the reliability of the national grid.
For us to maintain supply to our customers on about a third of this island, we need this new transformer to be installed and be placed on the grid.
The investment comes at a critical time. Bahamians have endured months of unplanned outages, equipment failure, and growing frustrations over an electric system that has come under intense public scrutiny. The announcement also comes days after energy officials maintain that the country's power system is still prepared to meet the demand, even as they acknowledge that the grid is facing additional stress from the rapid growth of electric vehicles. The company's vice president says the demand for larger power transformers has surged globally.
Demand will increase a lot because of EV cars, in addition to all the data centers that are being built all around the world. So there is always a demand for the coming, say, 10 to 15 years that it's growing year after year.
Eyewitness News reached out to Christie for more details on this partnership, including why Egypt was selected to manufacture the transformers, the expected delivery time, and when can Bahamians expect the equipment to begin making a difference on the grid. However, those requests went unanswered before news time. Now, according to Christie, the system has received BPL's stamp of approval.
We sent a team of 5 persons on a factory acceptance test, so they got to go to Egypt and they got to see it in place before it was shipped. So our team worked well with the OEM to make sure that all the specs were there, all the information was shared.
Meanwhile, the company's vice president explains what this partnership means between the company and the Bahamas.
The Bahamas project for us was like a reference to prove that we are up to the standard and up to the quality to start opening more projects on that side of the world.
Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Meantime, as officials work to replace those damaged cables that energy officials say played a role in a recent island-wide blackout that vexed residents here in New Providence, former president of the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union, Paul Maynard, says those replacements were long overdue. Maynard says officials must maintain that momentum if meaningful reform in the energy sector is to become a reality. This, as he says, true energy reform won't be felt overnight.
If they start next week, next summer, they could get through it while they're doing infrastructure upgrades. It could take about 2 years to properly upgrade the island, 2 years once they start next week to do it, because you have to source stuff. You have every 33 kV substation needs to be upgraded. Every last one of them needs to be upgraded. So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at Windsor Field, you're looking at Blue Hills, you're looking at Fort Charlotte, Clifton. You're looking at all the 33 kV stations that they have need to be upgraded, properly upgraded. And then you need to put all of your 11 kV boards, all of your 7.2 kV boards at these substations also need to be upgraded. You need to put new, sophisticated stuff in there, right? They have them, you get them, you put them in, and it lasts. You just got to do maintenance on them. You got to make sure the maintenance is done.
It says the infrastructural work must be a priority for BPL as hopes of energy reform hinge on those upgrades. This, as he says, the company hasn't seen any major upgrade in decades.
The last major upgrade BC had was in the mid-90s, right, when Eubank Priest was here. Okay, so now you're looking at the mid-90s to now, as what, 30 years? So now you understand, and it's extremely archaic. The switches and everything else, every time a BC employee goes and closes one, it's a risk of it blowing up. That's how bad it is there, all right? So the government in 2012 decided they were gonna do something about it. It got thrown by the time they got through with it, it was thrown by the wayside. 2017, same thing. They said that they were gonna upgrade generation. Well, everybody was paying attention to generation when they should have been paying attention to T&D. T&D, because of the amount of houses that are being built, the amount of infrastructure that is going in now, the hotels, etc., it's putting a real strain on what's already there, the assets in the ground. The assets in the ground needs to be an upgrade.
Well, the nightmare of a 9-year-old boy mauled by 6 dogs in Bimini is far from over as he continues recovering in Florida. His family says the full extent of his injuries is now becoming clear. Arlington Ritchie Jr. has the latest in this report.
It was the fight to keep him, to keep him alive, to keep him awake. Do not close your eyes, do not fall asleep through the entire endeavor.
Gashes, open wounds, and scars that could last a lifetime. That's what 9-year-old Beau Britton was left with after being mauled by a pack of 6 Staffordshire Bull Terriers at Bimini Cove Resort, suffering more than 100 dog bites. Speaking to international media, his parents, Michael Britton and Alec Terrells, says what was supposed to be a tropical family vacation quickly became a parent's worst nightmare. The young boy had left the family's condominium to collect sand on the morning of July 28th. His mother says when she returned, she immediately realized something was terribly wrong.
I looked at his head and I noticed that this much of his scalp was missing completely. And that's when I really started to freak out, because one thing was these bites, the other thing was this exposed scalp, tissue, nerves, brain.
Following the attack, Beau was rushed to the Bimini Clinic before being airlifted by the U.S. Coast Guard to Florida, where he continues his recovery. His mother says during the flight, her son believed he was dying, a heartbreaking moment she says no parent should ever have to experience.
Why did I deserve this? I'm sorry, God, is this how I'm supposed to die? And all I kept telling him was, you're not gonna die, Beau, you're not gonna die, you're not gonna die, you're gonna be fine, Beau.
The road to recovery, however, is expected to be long and costly. The family has increased its GoFundMe from $300,000 to $3 million, saying the extent of Beau's physical and emotional injuries is far more severe than they initially understood. They say he faces multiple reconstructive surgeries, extensive rehabilitation, and continued medical care.
It's endless how far this has reached and how grateful my husband, my family, my daughter, my parents, our son is alive because of every single person that has helped us until this point.
Meanwhile, the owner of the dogs, 34-year-old Harrington Roll, was sentenced to more than a year at the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services after pleading guilty to offenses arising from the attack. The 6 dogs were subsequently euthanized. As Bo continues his recovery in Florida, his family says their focus remains on helping him heal physically, emotionally, and mentally from an attack they say has changed their lives forever. Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
In other news tonight, the screening process for up to 300 teachers from Ghana is now well underway as the Ministry of Education races to have classrooms staffed before the new school year begins. The recruitment drive announced in July to help address teacher shortages sparked public debate, but Deputy Prime Minister and Education Minister Chester Cooper says the vetting process is continuing ahead of their expected arrival.
We have ensured that we are following all of the standard protocols of recruiting, inclusive of the vetting, as I've indicated previously, of their education qualifications. That's done primarily by NACOP, as well as our engagement with the Royal Bahamas Police Force and Interpol. We do character and criminal records assessment, etc. But you know, this is ongoing work. We're expediting as best we can, but we're not cutting corners. We're going to ensure that our children get the quality of teachers that they deserve.
Still on News from Education tonight, as the countdown to the new school year continues, concerns are also being raised about whether some teachers will receive their appointment letters in time to return to the classroom. Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson says in previous years, some educators didn't receive those letters until the week before school reopened, but the Deputy Prime Minister, and who's also the Minister of Science and Technology, says he's confident that that won't happen this year, revealing that the process of issuing those appointment letters is also underway.
It's evolving every day. We're issuing letters every day. Yesterday we issued 17. So this is a process. It's a work in progress, as you would imagine, at varying stages, depending on when the applications were made. And of course the vetting process. So this is an ongoing process. The opening of school is when we hope that we will have teachers in place. You know that there's a shortage. We've said that, and we're seeing how we can fill that gap as best as possible.
Well, questions are also mounting over payments owed to National Health Insurance Authority service providers after reports that some providers have threatened to withdraw their services over delayed payments. Questioned by Eyewitness News, Health Minister Michael Darville was unable to provide a dollar figure for the outstanding bill, but says he acknowledges the concern and pledges to do better.
Now, that's a difficult question for me to walk around with a figure. I could tell you this much, that going forward, the Ministry of Health with NHI, we will definitely do a better job ensuring that our providers are paid in a more timely fashion, but understanding that in the health insurance business, even in the private sector, if you provide a service today, there's usually a lag time before that payment is made. So it's never instantaneous because it has to go through a compliance process to check the validity of the claim. And once that's done, payment will be made.
Darville also acknowledging that government must do more to ensure providers are paid within the expected time frame. He says there must be clearer communication between government and NHIA officials with a commitment to meet payment deadlines and avoid further disruption to services for beneficiaries.
I assure all of our providers that we are now at the table to ensure that we do a better job in meeting our financial commitments to those who provide services under National Health Insurance, as well as those who provide supplies to keep the program up and going. But the program is a very, very important program, and we already have about 165,000 members who can access primary health care services privately, and very soon accessing them in the public system.
Well, national health insurance providers are still waiting on that undisclosed outstanding balance due to them from NHI Services. President of the newly founded and Registrar Accepted Provider Physicians Association, Dr. Natasha Archer Cartwright, telling Eyewitness News in a recent interview that the, quote, same lackluster, vague responses received since last year continue today.
We still have many policies such as fees that are being taken out monthly from physicians' funds before we even receive them. So the last letter that they sent pretty much said that they didn't have anything in place to make anything improvements. Although we hear them talking about NHI and all of this stuff, coming from the hard work that we've done.
Yesterday at a meet and greet with media, National Health Insurance officials also spoke about plans to revamp the NHI program, making it more feasible for both patients and providers. When asked for her thoughts on the proposals, Dr. Cartwright had this to say.
We've given suggestions in the past, and we haven't seen anything move forward in terms of recommendations we've made as individual physicians and as the association. So, we hear these things the same time as you do, which is sad but true. You would think that they would have these conversations so that we're aware of what they're doing or have an idea of timelines, but we just don't have that level of engagement on our government funds. If government collects funds, the only place government gets money from, unless they create some new avenues, is from the public. So it's either taxes or a redistribution of money that's already there. And we see that they spend money on so many different things that are sometimes not even beneficial to the Bahamian people. So that money should be easy to find.
Meantime, a viral video purporting to show customs recruits training in the rain, including what appears to be a female recruit mopping the ground, has sparked debate on social media. The president of the Bahamas Customs, Immigration and Allied Workers Union is responding tonight. Deron Brooks says he cannot confirm the identities of those individuals seen in the video, but notes that parade drill training is a mandatory part of recruitment preparation and almost, quote, a rite of passage across most law enforcement agencies. Brooks also revealing that the Comptroller of Customs granted the union access to the current recruits this week, allowing union representatives to speak with them freely and without interference. He says the union has not received any complaints about the training being conducted in either the customs or immigration departments. Brooks describing the recruits as a motivated group of young people who he says are eager to serve their country, wear the customs uniform with pride, and protect government revenue. Well, we've added another access point to make sure you're up to date with the latest news. Follow the Eyewitness News WhatsApp channel, scan that QR code on your screen, or visit our social media pages for a direct link. While you're there, don't forget to follow Eyewitness News on Instagram and Facebook. If you've got a news tip or if you've seen news in the making, call the Eye News hotline at 397-6397. We also invite you to send your letters to the editor for publication. All of our social media platforms, Eyewitness News Bahamas at gmail.com. And if you're watching on our Facebook or YouTube page, share your thoughts about today's stories in the comments section. We want to hear from you. We're just getting started in Eyewitness News tonight, but when we come back, government donating cancer medication to Cuba. We've got the details coming up. And later tonight, staffers at a local hotel reflect on the life of one of their own who was killed in that Independence Day crash. We've got more on that right after this break.
This summer, paradise is calling, and it's closer than you think. Gather your crew and escape to Royal Beach Club Paradise Island. Come relax on Chill Beach, dive into Paradise Pool, or dance all day at Party Cove with unlimited food and drink. Whether it's a family day, a friend's getaway, or the perfect staycation, your best summer memories start right here. So book your summertime in paradise at Royal Beach Club at paradiseisland.com.
Long summer, hot sun, people coming over, and nobody feeling like cooking. This summer, wait for the sign. Presenting KFC Summer Bucket, the official meal of the summer.
KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
Think you know a lot about money? Then prove it. What if one sound could win you big cash? Listen carefully. Then tell us exactly how much money went through the machine. One guess, one sound, one chance to win. Listen, guess, win. It's the sound of money. Brought to you by 103.5 The Beat. Powered by Island Lux Quick 5.
This segment of Eyewitness News is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Back, here's a look at your Eyewitness News gas tracker. You're getting the cheapest tonight at Esso, $6.60. Shell coming in at $6.75. Rubis still the highest tonight, $6.85. Your local prices at the pump. Welcome back. Well, long-promised rent control legislation appears to be moving closer to reality. Housing Minister Keith Bell says draft legislation is now being prepared in collaboration with the Consumer Protection Commission as the government works to address rising rental costs. Bell says he expects the legislation to be completed soon.
It's something to be brought before the Parliament. And I will say then again, although I've been working very closely with my brothers in charge of the consumer protection, that comes under consumer protection, we've been working very closely along with the Law Reform Commissioners, the Office of the Attorney General, to ensure that we bring new legislation dealing with landlord and tenants and, of course, rent control.
Meantime, Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville clarifying the new record after national health insurance figures raised concerns about sexually transmitted diseases. Darville says the numbers released in yesterday's NHI performance report do not represent new STI diagnosis, but as we reported, the number of people accessing NHI primary healthcare services to manage and treat previously diagnosed infections.
The reporting agencies for STDs, HIV, and other infectious diseases comes by way of my ministry at the Department of Public Health in collaboration with the infectious disease specialists. Utilization was the main focus of the report from NHI, which is a good thing. It means now that individuals who are exposed to an STD, most of them who are already known in the system, can access services by way of NHI. And so in a couple of weeks, you will hear more as it relates to where we are with our numbers. But I want to make it very clear that what NHI was demonstrating was the utilization of universal primary health care and the fact that in the public and private sector, individuals can access care so that they can become well.
Well, as Cuba continues to grapple with widespread power outages, fuel shortages, and a humanitarian crisis, the Bahamian government is stepping in with a $500,000 donation of life-saving medical supplies. The humanitarian aid, which includes chemotherapy drugs, comes as Cuban officials say their ability to obtain essential medication has been severely restricted. Cuban Ambassador Juan Carlos Sanchez says the need is urgent, describing the shortage of chemotherapy medication as a matter of life and death for many patients.
We have 100,000 people waiting for surgery, among them 12,000 children. And this is because of the sanctions the blockade, the strengthening of the blockade from the U.S. government to Cuba that has provoked in the energy sector specifically big problem to our country. In the last week, we have had 3 completely blackout in the whole island because of this situation. And without electricity, you cannot operate, you cannot have surgeries. And because of the sanctions, we are not able to go to the international market to obtain these medicines.
The first batch, which was transported on a flight to Cuba this morning, accompanied by Foreign Affairs Director General Drusilla Ali, was earmarked for Cuban children specifically.
There will be more that we are putting together, and we are being very targeted based on the needs that exist on the ground in Cuba. Initially, we were procuring a wide cross-section of medications, but we have decided now to do a targeted approach based on what the physicians and specialists from Cuba has indicated is needed urgently on the ground.
On to some other news tonight. Data shows that over 60% of Bahamian households are either single parent or fatherless, from which complications like custody battles and disagreements in parenting styles arise. We spoke with a family lawyer, Cedric Moss, Esquire, who broke down how custody typically plays out for children whose parents are not together.
When it comes to child's custody, if the parties are unmarried, then typically the custody would go with the child's mother. However, with a court application, they can then, like an access hearing, they would call it, then the father would be able to have access to his child depending on whatever arrangements they're able to work out. I usually advise my clients, it's best to see how well you both can co-parent to be able to come to some of these determinations by yourself without having to get the courts involved. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. So sometimes the court does have to step in and set the parameters for the families.
Law says that the court has the authority to make custody and welfare orders for children and must be satisfied that appropriate arrangements have been made for a child's welfare in family proceedings. Moss says while the mother might initially gain favor due to clear ability to identify the child belongs to her, typically fathers are only denied access if they're considered to be unfit.
Inherently, on its most basic terms, it would be that you're always able to identify the child's mother. It's always a question when it comes to the father. And that safeguard is pretty much put in place, just as I explained, as basic as it is, because the relationship of the couple is not really known at that time, whether they're just, if it was a one-night stand, if they were boyfriend and girlfriend, if they were engaged, if they were married, now divorced. So that safeguards to just ensure that the child usually is taken care of by the mother. However, when the father steps in, unless the father is severely unfit and they realize that him being present or around the child, that could be detrimental to the child's well-being, then certain cases would come into play where even if he's able to see his child, like it could be supervised or it's just heavily monitored. And then usually if you're able to identify the father, if he signs on the birth certificate and everything like that, you know that is the father legally.
Grief filling the room at Sandals Resort today as colleagues gathered to remember the life of Tawny Gillard, one of the 10 people killed in the tragic Flamingo air crash on Independence Day. She was headed to South Andros when the aircraft went down, claiming the lives of everyone on board. For those who worked alongside her, the memorial was a difficult one but important moment to celebrate her life, with tears following as colleagues reflected on the woman they knew as Tony.
It was Independence Day when we received the heartbreaking news. And everything came to a halt around the resort as we were trying to celebrate, but the news prevented that. We felt it all to our core. And anybody who was there that day, especially the resort shop team, it was unbearable. But while our hearts were heavy, we chose to remember Tony for the way she lived, not the way she left us. Tony was a songbird. Music wasn't simply something that she enjoyed. It was a part of who she was. She had a voice that could brighten a room and a smile that could lift any heavy spirit of anyone. Her laughter was contagious, her energy was infectious, and her vibrant personality made every day a little brighter.
Well, as that memorial continued, colleagues sharing personal memories of Tony and the impact she had on those around her. One employee reflected on their final moments with her before leading a prayer of grief and comfort for her co-workers and the entire Sandoz family.
She had the biggest smile ever, and this is just a few months ago. Her personality was incredulous. We talked about Jesus. We talked about worship. Father, we thank you for this opportunity. We pray that you'll be glorified. I thank you for every heart, every soul that's here. God, even in this moment of grief, we say thank you. Because your word instructs us to give thanks in all things. And though we weep on this side, we know that there's joy on the next. For this life is but for a moment, but the next is for all of eternity. We thank you for the gift that she was. We thank you for the blessing that she was. And God, even as we pause for a moment, we want to celebrate the God that she served.
So to come in Eyewitness News tonight, it's a clean sweep on the international stage for some little darlings. We've got the details, but first, a check on tonight's weather forecast.
Wealth should not only belong to a select few. At InvestStar, we believe the door should be open to everyone. We provide options for planning a better future. Our investment funds are designed to assist you in reaching your long-term financial goals. Let us show you how.
Think you know a lot about money? Then prove it. What if one sound could win you big cash? Listen carefully. Then tell us exactly how much money went through the machine. One guess, one sound, one chance to win. Listen, guess, win. It's the sound of money. Brought to you by 103.5 The Beat. Powered by Island Lux Quick 5.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay Eden well.
You're watching Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. Well, two young Bahamian beauty queens are back home with international crowns after shining on the world stage. The two captured top titles at the World Imperial Beauty Pageant, helping the Bahamas secure a major sweep of awards. Devontae Hanna has their story tonight.
Scary. I wasn't ready for this one.
But young Renaya Wilson and Adasa Camp nabbing World Imperial Beauty, Little Miss, and Junior Miss titles. They claimed on the big stage over a dozen awards collectively. At just 7 years old, Renaya says it's a moment she will never forget.
I cried.
Really? What were you saying to yourself on the inside?
I couldn't believe I won.
World Imperial, according to its website, says it does not aim to just be a pageant, but to be one that embraces the imperfections of each participant, turning it into power to spread confidence, sisterhood, and service. Standing on those core values, the pair, along with Kenia Minnis, strutted their stuff to a tri-sweep for the Bahamas, bringing home the Miss title as well. Junior Miss Hadassah Camp says she will always remember the journey.
Well, during the pageant, I made a lot of new friends, and we had sisterhood, of course. So I made friends from China, United Kingdom.
And the two can agree that their victories took a village.
Thank you, my family and friends, my directors, World Imperial Beauties, and our mothers.
With that, the newly crowned queen spreading a message of perseverance.
I just want to tell everybody out there that you can do it. Just try again, and then you will accomplish it.
And you might win the pageant, but if you don't win, you could join it back again and you might win.
Devontae Hanna, Eyewitness News.
Congratulations to those two ladies. Still to come in Eyewitness News tonight, our Laurencia Smith has your latest check on sports. Good evening, Laurencia.
Good evening, Janelle. Well, we have some news coming in from Eugene, Oregon, as Team Bahamas continues to put its best foot forward while also having the latest from the golf course. I'll tell you more about it straight ahead in sports.
Think you know a lot about money? Then prove it. What if one sound could win you big cash? Listen carefully. Then tell us exactly how much money went through the machine. One guess, one sound. One chance to win. Listen, guess, win. It's the sound of money. Brought to you by 103.5 The Beat. Powered by Island Lux Quick 5.
help can go even further. Be an everyday superhero. Donate to Hands for Hunger.
Eyewitness Sports is brought to you by 103.5 The Beat.
Welcome to another edition of Eyewitness Sports. I'm Laurencia Smith. Thanks for joining us. Kicking things off in our sports roundup tonight, we're in Eugene, Oregon, as Team Bahamas is making its presence felt at the World Athletics World Under-20 Championships with a string of personal best and season best performance, highlighting another busy day on the track over at the Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. Egan Neely led the way in the men's 200 meters, finishing in second in his heat in a personal best of 20.63 seconds to advance. Sage Damaris also booking her spot in the women's 200-meter semifinals, clocking a personal best of 23.31 seconds. In the men's 110-meter hurdles, Jacario Wilson turning in another impressive performance, winning his heat in a personal best of 13.25 seconds. And in the field, Tasia Stubbs coming up with a massive throw to record a season best of 52.55 meters on her final throw to qualify in the javelin. Now, Team Bahamas is continuing competition as the championships will wrap up over on the 9th in Eugene. Now let's head on over to the golf course. Team Bahamas held on to the 4th place, closing out the 2026 Caribbean Amateur Golf Championships over at the Bahamas Royal Blue Golf Course on Thursday. Playing on the home soil, the Bahamas moved up from one of the spots in its 5th place finish a year ago in Bridgetown, Barbados. Puerto Rico, however, remained on top, with defending champions successfully retrieving both the trophies and finishing with 58 points after 3 rounds. Bermuda held off the Dominican Republic to secure second to finish with 47 points, while the Dominican Republic also closed out a podium finish with 41. For Team 242, 4th place marks a step forward in a strong showing on home turf. Madison Carroll clinched a top 5 finish in the ladies division, placing 5th overall with a total of 232, 16 over par. Her score were 73, 82, and 77 to score 3 rounds.
Honestly, I felt like there are a lot of things in my game that I could have tightened up better. But throughout this whole week, I feel like I finished as best as I can. But it's not the finish I wanted, but there's a lot of work to be improved on.
Next up for local golfers will be the 2026 BGF 4-ball trials, slated for August 29th through the 30th over at the Royal Bahamas Royal Blue Golf Course. Congratulations to all of the athletes who participated, especially the home team. Well, that's a quick look at sports at this hour. I'm Laurencia Smith. Stay tuned for more news on the other side of the break.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza. Whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay Eden well.
You're watching Eyewitness News.
Well, that wraps up news this Friday. Don't forget, if you want to be the next co-host of the Eye on the Nation show, go to our Facebook page, scan that QR code, fill out an application. You could be the next voice of influence. But that does it for us here at Eyewitness News. Beyond the Headlines is up next. It's certainly been a pleasure having you in our company tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Janae Nawal saying good night, be safe, and have a great weekend, everyone.
We all know there are ways we can help. Your help can go even further. Be an everyday superhero. Donate to Hands for Hunger.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
So you want a space, but not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space? The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, callers, and advisors on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2026. All rights reserved.
How do you build a nation when every time the lights go out, so does the public's confidence? Think about that. Because last weekend, the Bahamas wasn't just left in the dark. It was reminded of just how much we depend on the systems that keep this country moving. When the power failed, homes went silent, and some businesses, they were forced to close their doors. Families had to scramble to protect food and medication for hours. Thousands of Bahamians waited and wondered, when will my light turn on? Good evening and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm Devontae Hanna, sitting in for Shanique Miller. And while the lights may have come back on, some of the bigger questions still remain, because this week hasn't just been about electricity. Well, a new government hire has once again ignited a familiar political debate. For some, the first question wasn't whether the person was qualified. It was which political party they were associated with. And that forces us to ask a difficult question. Have we reached a point where party loyalty matters more than national, and I hate to use this word, but national progress? Are we still judging people by the color of their shirt instead of the content of their character? And at the very same time, ladies and gentlemen, a Bahamian is now facing a second federal indictment in the United States, where prosecutors allege he coordinated the movement of massive quantities of cocaine from the Bahamas into Georgia. 3 stories, a national power failure, a national conversation about politics that needs to be had, and another international case that puts the Bahamas in the global spotlight. At first glance, they may all seem unrelated, but they all, at one point, do have the same question that we need to ask. Are we spending enough time solving the problems that will define our future? Or are we too often distracted by the things that divide us? Well, tonight we try to make some sense of all of what has happened this week and try to answer the questions that has left many feeling and wondering what is next. So we're going to get started, and we're going to actually start with the pressure that is building for alleged Bahamian drug trafficker Jonathan Gardner. U.S. authorities, that is, hand down another indictment putting his freedom in jeopardy months after he was rescued from the Election Day plane crash. Ladies and Richie Jr. is on the story.
The charges are piling up for accused Bahamian drug trafficker Jonathan Eric Player Gardner after a new unsealed indictment against him was issued, this time by prosecutors in Georgia, just 2 months after he was indicted on drug-related charges in New York. According to officials, the new indictment returned on June 9th charges Gardner with conspiracy to import a controlled substance into the United States and conspiracy to possess with the intent to distribute a controlled substance. United States Attorney Theodore Hertzberg alleges that between December 2022 and May 2026, while residing in the Bahamas, Gardner, quote, allegedly supplied large quantities of cocaine to drug trafficking organizations in the Northern District of Georgia and elsewhere. Further allegations revealed he would allegedly distribute more than 2,000 kilograms of cocaine at a time. But officials allege members of Gardner's reported Metro Atlanta drug ring have already been taken down, as more than 20 of them were previously charged, 13 pleading guilty. Gardner's international run-ins with the law spilled over to the Bahamas, staining the country's political arena after a U.S. affidavit alleged he had a role in setting up a meeting between a senior Bahamian politician dubbed Politician Number One and an undercover DEA agent back in October 2024 to discuss a multi-million-dollar international cocaine shipment. Local authorities say a team has been assembled to investigate those allegations. However, no substantial update has been provided since. Gardner is still locked away in the custody of the U.S. Marshal Service after he was denied bail back in June when a U.S. judge branded him a, quote, substantial danger to the community. U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency officials describing the most recent indictment against Gardner as a sign that, quote, underscores the relentless pursuit of transnational criminal organizations by Homeland Security investigations. No date was given on when Gardner could face the law in the state of Georgia, as officials maintain he's still awaiting trial for his New York indictment charges where he pled not guilty. Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Linton. Well, there you have it. There you have it tonight. I'm joined by the BTH Hot Topics panel. I have Ellington Ferguson here. Ellington, good evening. You don't need no introduction, eh?
Absolutely. Good evening. I'm home.
Yes.
Thank you for having me once again to lend my voice to these topics.
For sure. So we just heard that very big indictment now land on Eric Gardner now, a second one, which is now span multiple jurisdictions. You know, I want to know, first off, is this becoming, or do you believe this is becoming one of the largest international narcotics cases involving Bahamians in recent history?
Absolutely. In recent time, this is one of the largest, as we just heard that he's involved not just for New York, but shipping drugs across several states in the United States. You've heard them also say that they've already taken down one of the gangs that the drugs was coming to, and they've already pled guilty. So if they pled guilty, I'm sure that these guys have a plethora of information on him, and it's very unfortunate. It does put the Bahamas in a negative light. Unfortunately, this is not who we all are. There's a number of Bahamians may be doing that, but that is not who Bahamians are. And so it's unfortunate for him. Based on it, look like he's going to be a citizen over there for the rest of his life. You need a lawyer team like O.J. Simpson had.
I mean, I want to touch on the point about our reputation. How bad do you think this will look on the Bahamas internationally? I mean, we've lived in that shadow for a long time. When we go back to the Prohibition days, and even back into Pablo Escobar and all of those allegations that swirl around, Pinland. How does this really, what does this mean going forward in your opinion?
As the Bahamas try to clean up its image from the 80s that we've had with the huge amount of drugs that transship through this country, there's a challenge that we face. Number one, authorities must always be seen to stand by the law and enforce the law. Police, government, whoever it is, must be seen to enforce the law. However, there's a reality that we have that have been on our backs, as you mentioned, from the days of prohibition, the days of piracy. The Bahamas is strategically located, and we as Bahamians, we ought to use that for our benefits. But however, down through the ages, there are those who have used that also for their benefits. This is a major transshipping lane, and that's why pirates was able to thrive so much in these waters. Major merchant ships would be passing through the Bahamian waters, and pirates would put up false lights to lure them on to get shipwreck on a reef, and then loot them and kill them and all that. And so because of the Bahamas' geographic location, the U.S. is the real drug problem here. The United States of America is the country that has the appetite. That's where the appetite, that's where the consumption is. And so the persons over there have the persons in those other countries that uses the drugs. We just happen to be a little kid in the middle that getting all these blows throws over, and we get hit with it. And so our Bahamian men get involved in helping them to transship from one country to the next because of our location. It's easy to come through these chain of islands, and you know we're like 50 miles off the coast of Florida, the closest spot. So we find our location both helps us and it works against us.
But are we even doing enough to combat this, though? When you look at the defense force, the police force, are we doing? And you mentioned there that we have to be seen as fighting against this drug trade, alleged drug trade. Are we doing enough, even from a government level?
I would want to say when you consider the makeup of the Bahamas and the resources of the Bahamas. I think over the years we've been doing pretty good. Just last week, there was a drug bust with a go-fast boat that was coming from south, and the U.S. Coast Guard, they informed the Defense Force. The Defense Force communicated with them and gave them permission to board the boat until they get there. And so, yes, we have been working assiduously with our limited resources to combat this. However, the gratuities, the benefits of drug shipping is still very lucrative, still very attractive. This gentleman, Mr. Gardner, like they say, he's been doing this for a number of years, and obviously that the U.S. being involved, we got U.S. Coast Guards and U.S. ships moving along in our waters, working with Bahamian authorities. I think we have something called OBAT, Operation Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and so they have been working, and even in the midst of them working, they have not been able to catch all of them to stop them from going through into the U.S.
Looking at this situation, though, obviously we both agree it casts a negative light on us, right? There's
Absolutely.
no doubt about that. But I mean, do you think that this particular indictment, with Eric Gardner, will this be the one that nails it in the coffin?
It is not good for the Bahamas.
And also think about who is the chief in the United States.
It is not good. It is not good for the Bahamas. And in this particular individual and all that he has been involved with and how close he has been to some of our political figures,
which is another issue,
contractual workers and stuff like that, this is not good for the Bahamas. I hope that at the end of it, we can come out of this clean, and then all of the rumors are not as we're hearing it. But no, this is absolutely not good for the Bahamas, because we know that this guy has been very close to a number of our politicians with his company, working with the government of Bahamas.
This now reawakens the story of politician number one. Today is 85 days since the May 12 general election. How will this bode for the Davis administration in second term?
I advise Bahamians with some things with America to take some things with a grain of salt. I don't like the idea of America putting this wand over the Bahamas' head with this politician issue. When the police commissioner was indicted, they mentioned a politician was involved. We never got that name to this date. If a politician is involved, like you got Eric Gardner, say who it is, let's move forward. And if they say who it is, we can really direct the investigation on that individual, and let's get them out of here, and let's clean up our image.
Don't you think it should be incumbent upon whoever that politician may be to just come forward, resign?
If I'm a criminal, and unless you got evidence for me, I'm not going to tell you I stole the ball.
Where is your heart? Where is your compassion?
The same way it was when I decided to become a criminal.
Oh, boy.
And so I would anticipate that person would hold out as long, and maybe when they see that, if it is so, if it is actually a politician, when they see the chips are crumbling, then they will probably say, oh, it is really going to fall now. Then they may say, I'll step aside or something like that. But until then, if they're not sure that that's going to ever happen, that individual will never step down.
I want to shift gears now, because we started talking about politics. And I mean, I'm sure both of us have had a lot of conversations about Politician One and that whole saga, right? I don't want to too much dive into that. I want to protect my own self, right? But, I want to shift now to politics. Early this week, if you've been on social media, you would have seen a post floating around about a young lady named Ernie Johnson, who was hired recently by the Beaches and Parks Authority. I don't know if production can bring up that photo for me. She was one of several people that was hired, but a lot of people have been arguing that she should not have gotten this job because she is a known Free National Movement supporter. And I've even seen some people going as far as calling for the resignation of Jamal Strong. I laughed as well, right? Because, I find it very, how to say this politically correct? Nonsensical.
Yeah.
to even be having this argument in 2026. I know the young lady, she has never shied away from the fact of who she supports, but that does not take away from her qualifications and what she brings to the table. What does your say on that? Because we briefly started talking about that, and you mentioned that you saw it.
I've been observing our political movements, and I think that we are developing a class of Bahamian that more and more every day does not understand politics, does not understand elections, does not understand that this is the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Elections are for us to decide which one of the men and women or which group we're going to give into the country's hands to run the affairs of the country. If 5 of us say we're going to give it to this group, and 8 of us say we're going to give it to that group, majority rules. That means all 5 and all 8 together, we all must now run this country for all Bahamians.
Correct.
And so it doesn't, after election is over, it's governance.
Yep.
It's not PLP, it's not, right now it's over with PLP and FNM and all this campaign thing. And so for Bahamian, every Bahamian has a right to put in an application for a job, and the merits on that application need to be the deciding factor as to whether they get that job or not whether they're PLP or FNM.
And I agree. And even for me as a young Bahamian, seeing all of this and reading this and really ingesting that rhetoric that has been spewed for the last few days. I think this came about within the last 24 hours, but it's spread like wildfire, right? It's so disappointing to see that where we are. I remember just a few weeks ago, I believe it was, Ivan Ingram wrote a letter to the editor to one of the local dailies, and he said, we've created a sense of entitlement in the Bahamas, or political entitlement, this shows exactly that.
I saw that letter by Ivan Ingram, and I think they just thought it was so well put together. And yes, I think we need to take some time, either from the perspective of the political parties. I know they have their branch meetings and stuff like that. They have their training sessions, and they need to kind of educate these people, make sure people understand that once we become the government, we're the government for all people. If the FNM is the government of the day, the FNM cannot just hire FNMs. Bahamians, and that's why politicians are to ensure that they are not involved in that whole process. Keep their hands clean of that, and let the agency within these government agencies that are responsible for hiring, let them hire the Bahamian people, and let everybody progress. Let everybody enjoy the fruits of this land.
Further to that, you shouldn't be, not just because you walk in with a MP, prospective MP, that don't mean you deserve a job.
Yeah.
You ain't been to school. You never work a day in your life, but I must give you a job paying you $45,000, $50,000.
And they want big, prestigious jobs.
And
yes.
you want a contract on top of that.
Yeah.
And I must turn down somebody who done been to school for 4 years, probably didn't get a master's degree, involved in the community. Yeah, they support a different political party. But, what are we putting first here as a people?
We can't do that. We cannot be seen to do that. And so those things, and of course, they fly around on social media, and social media amplifies them. But that I'm sure that Mr. Strawn is not paying that no attention. I know he's a decent young man, and I applaud him for being fair to all Bahamian. Very well done.
I've worked not just here at Eyewitness News, but I've worked at other stations and other entities, I would say, and it put me in a difficult position, because you get to recognize how politics really works in this country, right? And from what I've been observing, I think I'm going to go out on a limb here and say politics and people's allegiance to political parties have hurt us more than they have helped us over the last 53 years.
Our politics have become too divisive. When I say that, we never really leaves the campaign trail in this country over the last few years. And so the campaign trail continues on through governance. where PLPs are still going at FNMs and FNMs are still going at PLPs. No, we need to speak. We need to come after an election. We all need to speak towards the good governance of the country.
Yes.
And not still pulling each other down, PLP and FNM. And that is one of the problems, the divisiveness that have entered our politics and keep us apart.
Yeah, whether you dip your finger for the gold, the purple, the blue, the black, at the end of the day, we are all Bahamians. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ferguson. But when we come back, we will discuss how the country was plunged into darkness and exactly what happens next. And we dive into that and talk a little bit about BPL and what's been going on. All right. Stay tuned. Beyond the Headlines continues right after this break.
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama here at Superwash, Superwash's newest spokesmodel, and I'm here to tell you about Superwash's large capacity washers and dryers for all your big loads.
I know I see that Charlie Banana coming here just now.
Luckily it's also big enough for me to hide it.
I thought he was right over here where these large capacity washer and dryers is. It's big enough now to handle your big loads, you know. Yeah, like your comfort on your blanket. But just look at those. Somebody forget to turn on the dryer. Stop! Damn! You hear something? Yeah, that's the sound of clean. Superwash washes you, presses you, and entertains you 24/7.
My name is Charles Wesley Roll. My organic farm is Nice Layers Organic Farm. I have 230 birds up here. I give them fresh water, pumpkin, lettuce, cabbages, all the vegetables. Anything what I eat, they eat. Right now, we sell the eggs for $7 a dozen from Monday to Friday. On Saturdays, you can get 4 dozen eggs for $21. I'll be located on Carmichael Road, the western side, Silverstone Primary School.
Think you know a lot about money? Then prove it. What if one sound could win you big cash? Listen carefully. Then tell us exactly how much money went through the machine. One guess, one sound, one chance to win. Listen, guess, win. It's the sound of money. Brought to you by 103.5 The Beat. Powered by Island Lux Quick 5.
Once something becomes the common behavior, it is the common behavior. When you operate at that level, personal emotions simply cannot float to the top.
For the average normal person that goes to the store, things like that affect us.
They must be judicious in the execution of their duty.
Well, I think whatever the nurses want, give it to them. Hedges, you know, you used to do everything on your phone now. You see how old he was?
What are we walking back? That Bimini is no longer an island?
That's
okay,
not
because
what he was trying
because
to
he also.
say. Well, I don't even know what breadbasket anymore either. What do y'all even say?
Well, good evening and welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Last week and into the weekend, thousands of Bahamians were left in the dark. And quite literally, I mean that. But in an attempt to communicate just how dire the situation is, energy officials yesterday encouraged Bahamians to go to the beach. This, as they say, Bahamas Power and Light's energy crisis could mean more outages are imminent. Daniel Dean had this story.
We cannot say nothing will happen, no outages will occur. They will occur. But how we address them in a timely fashion is key, and how safely we do it as well.
BPL officials putting it plainly today that there is no guarantee if or when power outages will stop. Past weeks of extensive power interruptions have left Bahamians anxiously wondering when relief will come. The company continuing to face backlash after Energy Minister JoBeth Colby Davis's bold claim that BPL was summer ready. But BPL Chairman Christina Alston argued they were in fact ready, dismissing the idea this meant 100% guaranteed efficiency.
BPL, in terms of summer readiness, had gone through the system. We had looked at everything. We had made sure that the generation was online in New Providence. That is a part of our summer readiness. However, saying that and saying that the system is going to be on 100% of the time, that is a very unrealistic goal.
But what's next? Repairs to the electricity grid and transmission and distribution system were set to be much further ahead. But following the withdrawal of management company Island Grid Solutions and death of American Pike worker Cody Castillo, things allegedly went downhill. Now Bahamas Grid Company CEO Dario McKenzie claims BGC is picking up the pieces and building up its T&D team.
Our target goal is to reach somewhere between 160 and 180. Currently, T&D staff, we're roughly at 100.
He likened the needed revamping to moving the country's infrastructure from the 20th century into the 21st century. Officials doubling down on requests for Bahamians to practice conservation as they continue attempts to manage an overworked grid and inconsistent electricity supply.
We immediately saw relief on the grid when the government agencies came offline. It was very immediate because electricity moves at the speed of light. And so anything that persons can do to conserve energy, it does help, and it makes a big difference, and it gives us the breathing room in the system to have energy for everyone. One of the easiest things as homeowners can do is just turn off the lights when not in use. You'd be surprised at how much people don't do that.
The company says it's doing its best to restore hope that is seemingly being sucked out of consumers with each shortfall. Danielle Dean.
All right, well, thank you there, Danielle Dean, for Eyewitness News. Well, you heard it there. We had the power outages. We had the second island-wide blackout for the month last week. Into the weekend, I had friends that lived as far as West Ridge, Lightfoot Key, complaining about their powers being off. Some of these areas you don't usually hear about, right? Yeah, exactly. I had people that were calling me from Carmichael or in the east that were saying, their powers were also off. And, I'll even tell the story. After a hard day of work last week, I decided to go to a restaurant. And while I was at the restaurant, the power turned on for me. I sitting there at the place. I'm sitting there at the place, right? And the power turned off. And the generator couldn't withstand the amount of power that they needed. So we're sitting there and the power was just in and out, in and out, in and out. And I was paying with card. And you need internet to pay with card. So it's like BPL, come on, man. But I mean, Ellington, how would you assess BPL's handling of this crisis?
I think BPL has been less than stellar in their handling of this. I think some things they should have done initially as it relates to being more open, more upfront with the Bahamian public. I would have liked to see from the initial stage of all of this that a thorough press conference explaining the situation with our grid, and I'm talking before we start to experience all of this, from the time that the government discussed that they were going into this whole phase of energy reformation. I think it should have been explained clearly what's the situation with our energy, with our grid. Let us know what is happening, its age or it's problematic, whatever it is, and why we need to do this energy transformation. I knew that we need it, but I think more emphasis should have been in explaining to the Bahamian people thoroughly, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is going to be the steps that we're going to take, this is some of the experiences that we're going to have as we begin this process, okay? There are some other things that have been happening. We've been having these faults that they say have been failing in different areas and that causing these island-wide blackout. I think there should be some more. There should have been more on board. I think they came out this week and they tried to do some of it. It still fell short of what I think that they should have informed the Bahamian people in detail. Right. Listen, guys, this is where we are. This is what we need to do. This is what is going to happen going forward. This is the length of time I think that we're going to be going through this before we can see some real results. They didn't give any of that. They talk about some things going on the beach, like you mentioned.
The EV cars.
I mean, come on, man. Y'all are guys. Y'all are people paying some big monies. Y'all are getting for this job that you're supposed to be doing, and you're talking foolishness about going to the beach and stuff like that, man. Come on.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, when I spoke to them about that, they found it as a slap in the face. I
mean, it's somebody who, for me, it depicts somebody that's lost.
Yeah. Was it tone deaf?
It was, it created, it enhanced the frustration of the Bahamian people to hear big professional people come out and talk stuff about go to the beach and all that kind of stuff, man.
And by the way, we did reach out to BPL to come and talk on the show, but they were unable to. So we continue, you know, and I mean, you know, looking at this issue, I was going to ask if there was a communication breakdown in all of this, because at the beginning of the summer, we heard, you know, BPL is ready. We're going to be ready for the summer. And I'll admit, it hasn't been this bad since at least about 2015 or so.
Right.
When Bahamas was coming on stream and all of that, right? But I mean, you know, then we saw some of the outages starting to happen, and it was still, is this load shedding? And I remember I interviewed the minister, and she said there was just some miscommunications. We didn't tell people that these outages happened. We didn't explain to them exactly how it was happening. You know, what does this really make for BPL? Do you think this is?
I think BPL woes are deeper and more than the Bahamian public is aware of. I'm not sure why it is that they don't want to come and just lay the cards on the table. Let us know what it is so we can know what to expect. Bahamian people expect better. We've had, for more than 5 years now, this administration have been working on grid transformation, and by now people have anticipated that they would have been getting some relief. We're still getting all these blackouts. Our electricity bills are increasing. I mean, just bring us up to speed. Bring us on board. What's going on? The bill, we've been promised that the bill would go down. And so Bahamian people are still expecting that. But the bill is going up. And because if you're having all of these blackouts, I mean, you're using your electricity less. You're forcefully using less. You don't have it. And so, but your bill is still high. So it leaves more questions than answers. And so, yes, we need to know. I don't think that the various stakeholders, Bahamas Grid, BPL, and the other ones, I don't think they all are on the same page.
Is this going to hurt investor confidence, though?
It does, because investors want to know. And see, what it does, it hurt existing business. And then the investor that was looking to come in is going to sit back and say, these people doesn't appear to have a proper energy system. I'm not sure I can put my investment into this country. And so right now, it's not looking good for us for bringing investors into the country. Because we've seen what's happening in Eleuthera for a number of years. I mean, every other time, Eleuthera's been shut down, water, light, and everything, and they still, to this day, haven't gotten it right. They have some things that they say they're going to come on stream with solar and all of that, but that has yet to come into fruition.
And the islands, the Family Islands, have been feeling this, no doubt, for quite some time. Eleuthera, Abaco, I remember during some regatta or some festival in Cat Island, there was a major outage.
Absolutely.
When are we just going to rip the bandage off? And I mean, they didn't attempt at it and say, you know, we've reached capacity at the grid. But I mean, as you said, the government has been touting a new energy era for the last, 4 years, 5 years maybe? And are we seeing that? Are we?
And I think I heard Miss Christina Alston talked about during her interview about our on-the-ground cable and how outdated they are, and it's unheard of in the Caribbean because everyone is so more advanced. I think they just need to come clean, let us know all the facts, let us know where they are, what they're doing about it, the length of time, what we can expect to experience, whether it's going to go through September, through October, through November. Let us know this. You come clean with the Bahamian people, which I think should have been something up front when they began this whole process.
Definitely. And right now I want to bring in the Chief Executive Officer of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Leo Roll, who's joining us via Zoom. Good evening to you, Dr. Roll. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Good evening, Devontae. Good evening, Bahamas.
I want to first talk about, what have your, I'm going to call them constituents, but what have businesses really been telling you? What impact have they been feeling over these last few weeks?
It's a little low, Devontae, but I think you're asking me about the impact that the power outages have had on businesses.
Yes.
It has been detrimental. So we've seen a number of challenges relative to businesses trying to grapple with the inconsistency of power, which is it's a direct paradox to the ever-increasing cost of power generation. When you think about a business, and you mentioned it so rightfully so, being in an establishment and not being able to pay, well, that happened, unfortunately, across the country where businesses had to either close their doors, send staff home. There's spoilage and wastage of food products or perishables. They were unable to take cash payment, unable to make merchant payments. And so commerce in and of itself came to a standstill. Now, people will say that it's a business. Businesses should have generators, but just look at what happened the first time in the history of the organization with one of our local food chains, who we would consider as a large business, does have a generator, but did not have the ability to keep the store open because of the strain on the generator. And so it is happening not only to what we consider MSMEs, but also to those larger businesses where the extent of this challenge that we're having is insurmountable. And it's definitely a damage to commerce in the country.
So these businesses now losing all around, as you mentioned, they can't pay the merchants. They're now having to pay for more fuel to fill those generators. May have to send staff home or may have to pay them for the day. They're taking that loss all around.
In most instances, that's what they've been doing. So the Chamber is a not-for-profit organization, and we too, having challenges on the Shirley Street corridor, have had to send staff home at least 3 times in the last month. Wow. And we didn't cut salaries. We had to continue to pay staff members, and that's what businesses have been saying. Because at the end of the day, the team members are saying it's not their fault that they're unable to work. And so businesses have to, one, contend with so many grappling challenges. You see the cost of procurement of goods and services becoming increased. You see the cost of taxes being increased. You see the cost of the ease of doing business and the cost of doing business that is becoming a challenge, and all of these things that businesses have to actually contend with. And now here it is, we're contending with instability of power generation. And I hear the challenges. We know that it's not something that happened overnight. This is a long-standing problem, but it's not a problem of the business community's doing. And so to expect the business community to absorb the challenges of an inadequate system while grappling with the challenge of having to find a solution themselves is laughable at best. And I heard the commentary relative to going on the beach and all of the manner of other things. But when you think about a business and you think about businesses, their bottom line being impacted because now they have to go into their pockets and pay staff. They have to go into their pockets, and if they do have a generator, maintain that generator, put diesel in it. You think about the wastage that they have. You think about, and I'm one of the leaders who I don't want to hear from businesses what the challenges are. I want it to physically be on the ground. So every time there was a power outage, I jumped in my vehicle and I drove to the various businesses that are chamber members in the surrounding area, and I watched businesses turning patrons away. I watched stores closing. I watched restaurants having to get rid of food, ice cream vendors having to get rid of ice cream. And so to make comments that seem disingenuous, it seems idiocratic, it seems like an insult, to be honest with you.
Which industries would you say were hit the hardest?
Say it again for me, Devontae.
Which industries do you feel were hit the hardest?
So the retail industry definitely took a hit. Tourism took a hit, especially with some of the Airbnbs. We saw even some of the major hotels had challenges where people were online lamenting the challenges they've had. Some of the boutique hotels, restaurants definitely took a hit. And we just saw across the board this ripple effect with industries who just saw an imminent challenge with ensuring that commerce had the stability that it needed. And I think, as your guest so rightfully said, businesses thrive on predictability. Mm-hmm. As a business, I'm not booking appointments on the week of things happening. I'm booking these in advance. And so if you are able to help me to be predictive by saying, this is the challenges that I think we're going to have, this is when we're going to have the challenges, then businesses can better, plan their week. But we have members who had to, for instance, one of our members called to complain that he had to rebook photo shoots for his clients 3 times. And that meant bringing team members in on the weekend to book these clients, opening on the weekend when it's not normal, meaning that you now have to pay overtime, you now have to run systems on the weekend that weren't necessarily being run. And so it's just become a real challenge.
Right. I mean, we also heard from BPL executives that, EV cars, electric vehicles, have been putting a strain on the grid. I want to get both of you in there. What is your take on that? And I guess, Leo, you could take it first.
So I think it was absolute nonsense. While I do believe that there is power generation, obviously a strain being done through EVs being charged, in most instances, those EVs are charged once a week. That's the first thing. Secondly, the government, as we know, has had a strategic push towards renewable energy because it's a part of our sustainable development goals, but also governments in and of themselves, many of those offices now have electric fleets. And so do you mean to tell me that a pre-assessment wasn't done to say that these things would place a strain on the grid? Additionally, there was a notion that when people install these charging ports on their homes or businesses, it should have been reported to BPL. Well, when I heard that, I immediately called all of our members that are either in the EV space, whether they are sales or members whose fleets have been shifted to EVs. And none of them have ever heard it, nor have we ever heard the notion that EVs or the charging thereof is putting a strain on the grid. And what I saw it as is just a mushrooming of the excuses. So it started with, and I'm not saying that these excuses aren't valid or even true, but it started with acts of God, it started with lightning and faults, power generation systems being inadequate or unstable. It went to the F&M, now it's on to EVs. I just think it's a mushrooming of the excuses as opposed to accountability that really needs to be placed where it is placed.
And I mean, particularly, I found the EV argument a bit ironic considering that, the government has been so climate focused, correct? And I mean, I want to bring you in on that bit there, Ellington. What do you say about that EV excuse, I guess we call it?
I mean, if you in your home and you push in an extra fan or two, you're going to see the meter speed up a little. Mm-hmm. However, but like you mentioned, the government itself has been on this massive run about these EVs. I think EVs are almost down to almost duty-free, if it's not duty-free at this point.
It's like 10% now.
Oh, okay. And so they've been on this massive push for these EVs. So this is nothing new that came into the system that they was not aware of that's coming. BPL, nobody, I'm sure BPL got some EV vehicles themselves. All the government, different agencies have EV vehicles, and so it's expected that you're going to have this on the grid. The problem is, again, like the chamber chief said, everybody is fumbling to find every additional excuse rather than saying what the real problem. We have an energy problem. Speak to the energy problem. Don't speak to all of these other little nuances that don't amount to a hill of bean. Speak to the energy problem. Speak to what we need to do and what you're doing about it. That's what we need from you. Not to raise all these excuses about, or somebody burning the air condition all night, or somebody plugging their EV vehicles. These ain't sneaking here. These ain't coming here like drugs.
Yep. And I imagine the frustration must be the same in the business community.
Say it again for me, Devontae.
I imagine the frustration must be the same in the business community. The frustration.
Absolutely. And we just see it as the gentleman said, as the passing of the buck, as opposed to helping us to be preemptive, predictive. When I kind of sit with businesses, one of the things I always look at is sort of strategies, cash burn rates, inventory turnover ratio. And so I can see, based on calculations, where a business will be in 6 months, where a business will be in a year, and then I'm able to provide recommendations to that business so that they can either curtail what they're doing or continue on the trajectory that they're on so that the business can be successful. It's the exact same thing. Help us to be preemptive and predictive so that our customers are not disenfranchised, commerce is not disenfranchised, and at the end of the day, we have an unstable power supply with a bill that is increasing. It's ludicrous.
And I mean, let's look at for convenience stores, food stores in particular. They've already endured the cut to VAT. and now they're dealing with this. How will, by your prediction, how will they bode over the next 6 months if the power situation does not improve?
So it's going to cost inflation, and inflation is a systematic increase in the cost of goods and services. Obviously, all of these detractors to the bottom line of the business have to be pulled from somewhere. And either it's going to shift in the cost of the goods and services being increased, or you're going to see some salary cuts where people are unfortunately have to be let go. Or some businesses will say, okay, I'll continue to take that shave on the bottom line just so I can ensure that my employees continue to maintain the standard of life that they've had. Again, it's more being placed on the backs of businesses. And there's an adage, how much can you place on the back of the donkey before the back breaks? Right now, businesses are really and truly getting the brunt of it. And I think it's, as the gentleman rightfully said, it's just absolutely insane.
Definitely. We're going to get ready to take a break here, but I'm going to give you the final thoughts here, Ellington, because we're going to come back and we'll talk about some recommendations and some solutions for BPL and for the government. But, you know, Ellington, this entire portion where we kind of segued into the business impact, your final thoughts on that?
I think it's hurting a lot of small businesses. People are now contemplating how far can I go with this, both with employees and even to the extent of keeping my doors open in some cases for some of these small mom and pop business, medium-sized business, because there is a tremendous strain every time you lose a day, and like the chamber chief said, where you have to pay employees, and in some cases you're losing goods, spoilage and wastage and all of that. That's an impact on your resources. That's an impact on your profits. How much of that can businesses sustain? And that's why, as he spoke to, we need to know where are we headed, what is next. And so yes, this is very impactful for business. This has set a lot of business back. And they have got to rebound from this at some point. Hopefully, it doesn't drag on too long.
Definitely. We're definitely feeling the trickle-down effect of the outages that we've been experiencing throughout the entire month of July, now entering August, with seemingly not much answers to the many questions that we have for BPL execs. And of course, we're going to try and sum it up and give them some solutions as best as we can on the other side of this break. So you don't want to move. Beyond Headlines continues right after this break.
Wealth should not only belong to a select few. At Investar, we believe the door should be open to everyone. We provide options for planning a better future. Our investment funds are designed to assist you in reaching your long-term financial goals. Let us show you how.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay Eden well.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. We're still talking about those rolling blackouts, and we were beginning the discussion about the impact on the business economy, on the businesses in general. We have the Chamber of Commerce CEO, Dr. Leo Roll, who is still joining us via Zoom. Also in the studio is Ellington Ferguson. And, right now, before we close, I want to ask both of you gentlemen, if you had the chance to speak to the government tomorrow and give them your recommendations or solutions to fixing this problem, what would you say?
Well, first thing I would have them to do, listen, you need to pull all of these persons involved, Bahamas Grid, BPL, whoever involved for transmission and generation and whatever else. Everybody need to come together. You all, number one, first of all, need to be on the same page before you come to the public. Secondly, you need to make the public aware of what is happening. What's with all of these fault failures? What is causing that? What is the root cause of that? What's going on with generation? Okay, what's happening to the generator? Why all these failures? Why all these blackouts? If you say that it's not load shedding, what is happening? We understand that it is very hot. We understand that you're doing some transformation to reform energy in the country. Please, you didn't do it at the initial stage. Help us to understand what it is that you're doing now. You don't use the big term of transforming energy. Explain to us in layman's term that every man on the street could understand what is happening with our energy right now. Where are you in this whole transforming process? And what can we expect going on next week, next month, and the next 2-3 months? Okay, it needs to be a properly laid out plan that every Bahamian can understand it, so that we can know what we're dealing with. Business can begin to kind of figure their way forward, how they can navigate through whatever the ordeal is that we still have to go through. You heard the chairman of the board says they're going to be more blackout. They can't promise you that it's over. Why are we going to have more? What is happening? Yep. Okay? And so this is one of the things that I would advise them to do, so that the Bahamian people could kind of get an understanding, not satisfied, not feel good about what they have to still endure, but at least they will understand why, what is happening, and how long will I do have to endure this. But the uncertainty of it all is chaotic. It's crazy.
Definitely. Leo.
Devontae, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
I can.
Okay, so I think the question was relative to some of the strategies that can be implemented.
Yes.
All right, so what we would have negotiated with the government, and we've been in talks with BPL, and so what we've negotiated with the government earlier this year were energy audits for businesses. Now, energy audits is an expensive venture, and so we thought it would be fitting for businesses, of course, select businesses, to get free energy audits. And what that would do is allow for business to see where there were areas of wastage, where there were recommendations for renewable energy alternatives, where there were recommendations for energy efficient appliances. And so we think that the government should ramp up that program. That will allow for businesses to see where the areas of wastages are, and then allow for them to be able to implement some of those strategies that will be recommended during the energy audits. Now, there will also be possibly need for grant funding to allow for the transition of some of their high energy efficient appliances, some of the challenges that they would have seen during those audits to be addressed. We also think that right now it's kind of the wild, wild west with persons who are installing, let's say, things like solar panels, etc. And so probably a registry or some type of mechanism where those persons are registered and vetted, so that persons who are going to use the services or people who are installing will be able to say, well, these persons are vetted, they are actual installers. About 2017, the Chamber of Commerce embarked on a venture with the IDB, and it was one where we created videos and tips that were sort of energy conservation tips. And I think that's something that we can go through again when we do webinars and we do sort of those short videos to help consumers understand energy conservation tips. Because I think it's one thing for people to be aware of those things, and then another for those things to be implemented. So we can do a better job as a chamber of working together with private sector, working together with the government, of course, working together with persons who have the responsibility for power generation and distribution, to do educational campaigns, to see where there are areas that persons can save, because I know that there's a program where you can implement or import rather some high energy efficiency electronics and appliances for your business duty free. And so we can do those kind of webinars and those educational campaigns where businesses can, one, be more aware of the things that are available, and two, implement those things through our partnership. And I think it calls for collaboration, honest conversation, and a true, clear pathway along with a timeline for when the restoration of reliable energy will be provided for businesses and consumers alike.
What would you say to some businesses right now who may be struggling to keep afloat? A lot of them, as we were discussing on the break, those small mom and pop shops, people who may be selling food on the weekends or whatever have you. What would you say to them? Because, they might go to the food store on Monday and buy groceries, and by the time they're ready to cook that might be spoiled. How do they stay afloat in this type of, economy that we're now facing?
But I really didn't hear anything.
What would you say to people or business owners about staying afloat during this dire times that we're now facing in terms of power? Can you hear me now? All right, I guess not. All right, so we're going to keep on rolling. But Ellington, it's been an eventful past few weeks, and we thank Leo so much for joining us there on the show to talk about that impact. But it's been quite an eventful past few weeks, and this week in particular has been pretty interesting as we see BPL now deal with this fallout. But also, on top of all of that, we have this big mountainous case that is now being built against Eric Gardner and what he will face in the future. And through all of our conversations, whether we talked about BPL, Eric Gardner, or whether we talked about hiring people, and I think one thing comes to mind is that we have to be able to trust, and we have to trust our institutions. And in order for there to be trust, there has to be transparency. And those are some things that we need to go forward and think about. And I think executives of BPL need to think about that. I think the executives and the government should be thinking about greater transparency and ensuring that the Bahamian people can trust you at the end of the day to run their institutions, to manage their infrastructure. And of course, these challenges that we face are all real. Absolutely. And they're all solvable. And it takes us coming together and of course, working together to ensure that they do for the betterment for the Bahamian people. But that's our show for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. I'm Devontae Hanna, once again filling in for Shanique Miller. This has been Beyond the Headlines. Have a good night.
The Verizon Media Group, home of ILTV, Paramount Systems Limited, Eyewitness News.